first thing I wanted to ask was that the one thing, in when you're talking about change in trends in literature, the one change which you have seen, which has kind of made you happy in recent times.
I think the recent trend which has really made me happy is the way different genres are kind of cross-pollinating with each other,
Huh.
and books are emerging. For instance, as I said, I just finished reading Mohsen Hamid's How to Get Filthy Rich in Asia.
Exactly.
That's written in the garb of a self-help book,
Exactly.
but it tells you the story under the guise of a
Huh.
self-help book. Very
Exactly.
beautifully done.
Exactly.
So he's marrying two genres. He's marrying highbrow literature with this kind of self-help genre.
Exactly.
If you also were to read Q&A by Vikas Swaroop,
Yeah, I have read it.
the
I
game
have read
show
it.
format married
Yeah.
to fiction. So
Exactly.
that's a really interesting
Exactly.
form and genre. And I think
Exactly.
as more and more people have more and more exposure to different kinds of contents, thanks to the internet, there's going to be an automatic cross pollination,
Exactly.
and
But
literature is going to be richer for that.
exactly. But a certain section of writers are kind of are very critical of the new age writers. So do you think it's very fair on their part to do something like this?
I don't think there's anything. I mean, I haven't yet come across any formal attack on new age
Huh?
writers.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all you want is to provide pleasure to your reader, and to somehow somehow make sure that your book becomes somewhere unforgettable to your reader, or
Yeah.
has
True.
created some switch change or some kind of thing, alteration in their way of looking at the world. So I think attacks and all these are not going to last for long, even if they are happening.
But I mean, as a writer yourself, are you like really connected with the regional writings which are going on, and what do you think about it?
Well, obviously, I studied in
Huh.
English medium,
Yeah.
typical Jesuit educated middle class person, aspirational, I was sent abroad to study.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that just because I don't read regional literature,
Huh.
that my sensibility is not regional.
Exactly.
My sensibility is extremely regional, which is why I write book upon book. My books are all Mumbai centric books.
Yeah.
I could never write an international book or a cross or even a book which spans India. It would have to be Pune, Mumbai, in Mumbai a specific locality, very kind of neighborhood specific things. So I think we are all regional in
Yeah.
that way as long
True.
as we live somewhere.
True. And what Katika said inside about the lowbrow writers, mass writers or mass books which are there, they do not allow a person to kind of go to say a writer like you. So do you think it's quite fair on her part to say something like that, or what do you think on it?
To come to writers like me,
Yeah.
no, I don't think I'm highbrow either. I just don't allow I mean, I don't permit myself to write something which is entirely saleable. Maybe it's just kind of inner impulse of self-destruction or misanthropy of some sort. But I think what worries me, I mean, what discomforts most of us is the absolute lack of self-consciousness in somebody who has dashed off a book in 2 months and thinks that okay, now I've written a book, now I know how to market this, and therefore I am a valid writer. If marketing is what made things, then I mean, pornography, for instance, doesn't
Yeah.
even need to be marketed. You
Exactly.
just put up a porn site and you'll have millions of hits in 6 months.
True. True.
That doesn't mean porn is something which is fulfilling any requirement or is necessarily creating a good mental space in the viewer's mind.
True.
What kind of long-term effects it is having vis-a-vis the objectification of human beings as sexual objects, we don't know.
Yeah.
Similarly, fiction, which is I don't. These are very difficult things to say because I mean, I'm no one. I'm no judge to kind of denigrate other people's reading tastes.
Yeah.
But if these reading tastes become sort of plateau, where okay, I read, hence I am valid, and I don't need to read anything which challenges me. As long as I'm reading, I'm good. I think that needs to be kind of questionable. It's like a child saying, "मैंने खाया तो कुछ ना."
हाँ.
जो भी
Exactly.
हो मैंने खाया तो सही ना, जो
True.
पिज्जा खाया कि बर्गर खाया तो सही.
Exactly.
Then the mother will always question कि if you don't eat vegetables, if you don't eat roti, chapati, how are you going to get your nutrition?
Exactly.
That's it.
And one last question, say from a writer to say a reader who has probably started from a very smaller book, not a smaller book, but into quote a high
Simpler
brow book.
books or books which don't challenge you as much.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, if he wants to kind of go ahead and read more books, more better books, not better, but more books of varied genres, how does he go out? Because as I said, he might be frightened in thinking that it's not for him, or the whatever is written, he may not be able to understand.
Right.
So, how does he go about it?
I don't think anyone needs to be told how to go about. I
Yeah.
think a moment comes in a person's life when you realize that you are not enough to answer your own questions and you need to seek something from outside. I remember why I began reading fiction is because I was alone in America. I was a student, 18 years old. Like I didn't have money to come back home, and I was basically dying, of isolation, loneliness, homesickness.
Yeah.
That's how I picked up my first Salman Rushdie book
Ah.
because it was a Bombay book, and I
Ah.
wanted to read a Bombay book just to
Yeah.
feel like I was back home. So I
Yes.
think when there is a burning need to access something or experience something, then I think automatically people will kind of graduate and
Okay.
people will seek out things which are
Exactly.
outside of their comfort zone.
Exactly. Thank you. Thanks a
Sure,
ton for
welcome,
speaking.
welcome.